I never thought I'd end up here, telling this kind of story in a public forum, but I'm desperate for some perspective. Maybe even validation that I'm not completely crazy for what I'm about to do. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for 8 years. Solid, predictable, comfortable, almost boring, but I liked it that way. We had a little house, decent jobs, and a life we built together. The kind of life that everyone else looks at and envies, or at least, that's what I thought. It all started last month at our company's annual holiday party. It's a big deal. Everyone from the office shows up with their wives, husbands, dates. It's supposed to be a fun night, a chance to unwind and celebrate. I was looking forward to it, honestly. I'd been working extra hard that week, so I thought a night out would be good for us. Lisa, of course, looked stunning, like she always did. She's tall, with sharp features and a smile that could light up a room. I remember feeling proud just to be by her side as we entered that crowded hall. The problem was, I'd started noticing little things before the party even happened. Small signs, really. How she'd suddenly get distracted during conversations, her phone buzzing nonstop when she thought I wasn't looking. She'd dismiss it, say it was just work stuff, but I felt something was off. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe I was overthinking it. I'd caught her sneaking glances at her phone more than once, and I'd ask her about it, but she'd always brush it off with a laugh or a quick kiss on the cheek. That night at the party, I was watching her from across the room, trying to read her face. She was flirting with a few of her coworkers, laughing a little too loud at some guy's joke. I felt a twist in my stomach, a strange mix of jealousy and unease. Then I saw her step into the corner with a man I didn't recognize, probably someone from her department. They talked closely, their heads tilted toward each other. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the way she leaned in, her hand resting on his arm, made my blood run cold. I decided to grab a drink and walk closer. As I approached, I caught the faint glow of her phone screen in her hand, her fingers brushing over it quickly as she saw me coming. She stiffened, her face flickering with guilt. I caught a glimpse of a message thread with someone named Boss, her boss, I realized. The words on the screen were enough to punch me in the gut. Can't wait to see you tonight, and this can't be our last time. My knees felt weak. I remember standing there, staring at her, my mind racing. Lisa, I said, voice hoarse. She turned, her eyes wide and nervous. Who is that? She blinked, then tried to brush it off. It's nothing, just work stuff, I swear. But I saw the way her hand trembled, and I knew she'd been lying all along, that she'd been sneaking around with her boss for months. The realization hit me like a wrecking ball, full force, no mercy. I felt my stomach tighten and my fists clench so hard I could feel my nails dig into my palms. I saw your messages, I managed to say, trying to keep my voice steady. You've been lying to me. About everything. She looked at me helpless, then looked away. Her lips trembled, and for a moment she seemed about to cry. Instead, she just said, I didn't mean for you to find out like this. That's when I snapped. The room spun a little, the noise muted. I didn't want to make a scene, but I couldn't hold it in either. My mind flooded with anger, betrayal, and a strange kind of clarity. I knew I had to do something. I just didn't know what yet. The night was far from over, and I could feel the gears turning inside me, planning the next move. As I turned away, I saw her face, her eyes pleading, helpless. I knew this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about how she'd lied, how she'd betrayed everything we built. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it, not without a fight. I needed to find out the full story, and I needed a way to make her regret it. That's what I was going to do. I just had to figure out how. I left the party that night with my mind racing but my heart heavy. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning. The next few days were a blur of anger, disbelief, and planning. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. All I could do was replay that moment at the party in my head over and over. Every detail, her nervous glance, the trembling in her fingers, the betrayal in her eyes etched itself into my mind like a scar. My stomach felt like a knot, my palms sweat whenever I thought about confronting her again. I started digging, even though I knew it was dangerous. I had to understand the scope of her betrayal. I needed proof, not just suspicion. I remembered her phone from the night of the party still lying on the coffee table where she'd left it. I hesitated for a moment, then snatched it up and unlocked it while she was in the shower. The password was obvious, her birthday, so I logged in and started scrolling. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. There were dozens of messages, some explicit, some just flirtatious. The tone was casual but insidious, sneaky comments, inside jokes, plans to meet up. I saw the dates, some from weeks ago, others more recent. It was clear they'd been carrying on this affair for quite some time. But what cut me the deepest was a message she sent her boss. "Can't wait for tonight, I've been thinking about you all day." That wasn't just a mistake, that was a pattern. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands trembled as I held the phone, my mind racing. I wasn't a fool, I knew I had to be careful. I couldn't just confront her without a plan. I needed to be smart, think through my next move. I decided I'd gather more evidence, see if I could find out where she'd been meeting him, how far this had gone. That night, I set up a small, hidden recorder in the house. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I needed to catch her in her lies if she tried to deny anything. I also started watching her behavior more carefully, how she'd avoid certain questions, change the subject quickly, act nervous whenever I brought up work or her phone. The following morning, she left for her work trip, just as she said. I watched her pack her bag, the faint scent of her perfume lingering in the air. I could feel my blood boiling. I didn't trust her anymore. I knew she was lying, hiding something, and I was done playing nice. As soon as she was gone, I started making calls. I contacted one of her close friends, someone she'd confide in, someone I could trust not to spill everything. I told her I needed to know everything Lisa had been hiding. I wanted details, every little bit. I also looked into her boss, found out his name, his office location, his schedule. I needed leverage, something I could use when the time came. But I wasn't just going to gather evidence, I was planning my revenge. I didn't want to destroy her life overnight, but I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. To start, I decided I'd make her regret ever crossing me. I wanted her to see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I wanted her to feel the same sting of betrayal I'd felt at that moment in the party. While she was away, I set up my plan. I would confront her face to face, but with a twist. I'd make sure she knew I had the upper hand. I wasn't just going to explode in anger. I was going to make her see that I was in control now. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. I was done playing the passive husband. I could feel my pulse quickening just thinking about it. I knew I'd need to stay calm, keep my emotions in check, at least until the right moment. But inside, I was seething. I had all the pieces now, and I was ready to put my plan into motion. When she finally returned that evening, I was already waiting. I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat on the couch, my stomach tight and my mind sharper than ever. The moment she stepped through the door, I knew the game was about to change. I looked at her and I saw the guilt in her eyes. That was the moment I decided I'd finally get to the truth and she wouldn't like what was coming next. I took a deep breath and said, "We need to talk, and I mean really talk." Her face went pale and I could see her trying to hide her nerves. Good. I was just getting started. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me as she hesitated at the doorway, clutching her bag like it was a shield. My stomach still felt clenched, but I forced myself to stay steady. I poured the last of my whiskey into a glass, took a slow sip, and kept my eyes locked on her. "Sit down," I said, voice even but firm. "We need to go over some things. Honestly, I've had enough of your bullshit. It's time you tell me everything." She looked like she wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. She lowered herself onto the couch, her hands twisting in her lap. She was trying to appear calm, but her eyes darted around, avoiding my gaze. That nervous energy only made me angrier. "First," I started, setting my glass down with a deliberate clink, "I saw your messages, the ones with your boss, the ones you thought I wouldn't find, they're all over your phone." I paused for effect, watching her swallow hard. "How long has this been going on? When did you start lying to me?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It was a mistake. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to get this far." She looked genuinely panicked, her cheeks flushed in shame, but I wasn't buying it. "Bullshit," I snapped. "You think I don't see what's going on? I saw the way you looked at him, the way you touched him at the party. You think I'm stupid?" Her hands trembled and she looked down. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I was going to tell you eventually." "Eventually?" I snapped. "That's what you call it." You've been sneaking around behind my back for months, lying to my face while you had some affair with your boss. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me, how betrayed I feel? Her eyes welled with tears and she looked like she wanted to say something, anything, but I wasn't going to stop. I needed her to understand the gravity of what she'd done. I've been planning my revenge, I said coldly. I'm not just going to walk away, Lisa. Not after this. You're going to regret ever crossing me. She looked at me stunned. What are you talking about? What do you mean revenge? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. I've been watching you, I've been gathering evidence, and I've got friends in the right places. You think you can cheat on me and walk away scot-free? No way, this is far from over. Her eyes widened in horror. You're serious, you're going to do something. You bet I am, I said, standing up. And you're going to hear me out, because the way I see it, you're going to pay for what you did, one way or another. Her lips trembled and she looked at me with a mixture of fear and guilt. Please, don't do anything reckless. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Sorry doesn't cut it anymore, I said, voice rising slightly. You had your chance, Lisa, but now I'm calling the shots, and trust me, you won't like how this ends. That was the moment I knew I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to let her get away with her lies. I was going to punish her, but I also had a plan. A way to make her feel every ounce of betrayal she'd handed me. She looked like she wanted to scream, but instead she just sat there, trembling. I walked over, leaned down close, and said softly but with steel in my voice, "You better get ready. Things are about to change, and you're going to wish you never crossed me." She stared at my face, tears spilling down her cheeks. I knew that was just the beginning. The real game was about to start, and I wasn't backing down. The next move was mine. Now I just had to execute it perfectly. The question was, would she realize what was coming before it was too late? The next day, I woke up with a pounding headache but a clear plan in my mind. I knew I had to be smart. Revenge isn't about rushing in blindly, especially with something as serious as this. I spent the morning making calls, setting things into motion. I didn't want her to suspect a thing until I was ready. I knew her schedule, her routines, and I already had a few contacts I could trust to help me execute my plan. First, I contacted a private investigator I knew from a previous job. I told him I needed to find out exactly where Lisa was meeting her boss, what their routine looked like. I made sure he understood this had to stay completely discreet. No leaks, no slip-ups. I also took some of her belongings, specifically her phone and her purse, and slipped them into a sealed bag to analyze later for any additional clues. While I was doing that, I meticulously planned what I would say when I confronted her again. I wanted her to see that I'd gone beyond just suspicions. I had proof. I had the leverage. I didn't want to scream or throw accusations. I wanted her to understand that I knew everything and she was caught. That evening, I started preparing myself. I made sure I looked calm, composed. I even shaved and changed into a crisp shirt. No way was I going to let her see me lose control. I'd learned over the years how to hide my real anger beneath a calm exterior. I knew she'd try to manipulate me, try to deny everything, but I was ready. When she finally came home, I was waiting on the porch. She looked tired, guilty even, but still trying to put on a brave face. I held the door open and nodded for her to come inside. She hesitated, then entered cautiously. "I've got everything I need," I told her, voice steady. "And I want to be clear, you're not walking out of this without consequences." She looked at me, eyes wide. "What are you talking about? Please just no," I cut her off. "You lied to me, betrayed me, and I've got proof. So you're going to explain everything on your knees if necessary." She looked like she was about to cry again, but instead she just said softly, "I was stupid. I didn't think it would get this far. It was a moment of weakness. I never wanted to hurt you." I interrupted sharply. "Save it. I already know your story. The texts, the meetings, the whole damn affair. The investigators got everything, and I'm about to send it to your boss's email just to make sure he's got the picture clear." Her face turned ghostly pale. "Please, don't do that. Just give me a chance to fix this." I stepped closer, feeling my fists tighten. "Fix it? You think this is about fixing? No, Lisa. It's about making you understand that actions have consequences. You want to cheat and lie, fine, but I'm not going to let you walk away without paying." Her voice broke as she begged, "You're overreacting. It's just a mistake. I love you, I swear." I cut her off again, voice cold and hard. Love, you're joking, right? You've been sneaking around, breaking our vows, lying about everything. That's not love. That's betrayal. And I want you to know that I've planned my revenge carefully. It's going to hurt, but in a way that makes you realize what you lost. She looked like she was about to burst into tears, but I was past caring. I had everything I needed. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder with the evidence, and held it up so she could see the screenshots. Her eyes widened in horror. "I'm sending this to your boss," I said quietly. "And I'm going to tell everyone you tried to hide it. Maybe then you'll understand what you threw away." She started to scream, begging me to stop, but I raised my hand. "No, this is just the beginning. Going to regret this, you and your boss both." In that moment, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with rage. I finally had the upper hand. I was no longer the betrayed husband, I was the one in control. And I was going to make damn sure she felt it. As I pressed send on the email, I knew that I'd crossed a line. But there was no turning back now. She had chosen her path, and I was about to make sure she paid for it. The only question was whether she'd finally see what I was capable of, or if she'd continue to deny the truth until it was too late. I looked her in the eye and said, "It's over, Lisa. You're done here." The fallout hit faster than I expected. Within minutes of sending the email, I received a reply from her boss. The message was straightforward and cold. "I had no idea she was recording this. I'll handle my end." That was all. No apology, no explanation, just confirmation that the affair was exposed and that he was aware of the evidence. I watched her face twist with panic, her eyes darting around as if the walls were closing in. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. The truth was out and she knew it. The shock in her eyes told me she understood that I wasn't messing around anymore. Whatever illusion she had to manipulate me, it was shattered. I took a deep breath, feeling both victorious and hollow. I had played my hand carefully, but I knew this was just the beginning of what would come next. I didn't want her to think I was done yet. No, I wanted her to see the full extent of her downfall. "I hope you understand what you've done," I said quietly but firmly, "because I'm not going to pretend I don't see what's happening anymore. You lied, cheated, and now you're going to face the consequences." She was trembling so badly I thought she might collapse. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Please, just give me a chance to explain." I cut her off again, voice rising slightly. "There's nothing to explain. You betrayed me. Simple as that. I trusted you, and you threw it all away for some stupid affair with your boss." I paused, feeling a surge of anger. "You really think I'd forgive that after everything?" Her eyes shimmered with tears. "I love you," she said, voice cracking. "I swear I do. It was a mistake. I was so confused." "Love," I scoffed. "You don't love me if you're sneaking around behind my back. You love what he represents: power, excitement, something you're too scared to walk away from." I stared at her, my jaw clenched. "And I'm not going to let you get away with it. Not anymore." I had already decided what my next move was. This wasn't just about proving her guilt. It was about making her feel what she'd done. I wanted her to understand that her actions weren't just a slap in the face. They'd shattered everything we built. I wasn't going to let her just walk out of this without consequences. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, sealed envelope. Inside was everything I'd gathered: screenshots, messages, the investigator's report. I handed it to her, silent, letting her process what I was showing her. "This," I said softly, "is your punishment. You're going to face the fallout, the way I." Yet you've got two choices. You can keep lying, deny everything, and see how far I'm willing to go. Or you can admit everything, face your mistakes, and maybe, just maybe, I'll consider forgiving you." She looked at the evidence, then at me, eyes filled with a desperate mix of guilt and fear. "Please," she begged, "don't do anything drastic. I'll fix this. I swear I will. Just don't ruin me." My stomach clenched again, but I kept my voice steady. "It's already done. The ball in your court now. You've got to decide if you want to keep fighting or accept what's coming." She looked down, tears streaming down her face, and nodded slowly. I knew I'd pushed her to the edge. The next steps were in motion. I'd made up my mind about what I needed: revenge, yes, but also clarity. I wanted her to see what losing me really meant. I stood up, feeling a strange sense of calm mixed with rage. "You can stay or go," I told her. "Either way, I'm done pretending. And I'll tell you this, once I walk out that door, I'm not coming back." Her voice broke. "Please do." Do this? I already did, I said, turning toward the door, and it's too late for regrets now. As I stepped out, I felt it, an odd mix of relief and resolve. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity, about cutting out the lies and betrayal that had poisoned everything. I knew that whatever came next, I'd be stronger, and she'd be left to face the ruins of what she'd destroyed. And that, I told myself, was exactly what I needed to do. The next few days were a whirlwind. I stayed busy, doing everything I could to finalize my plan and make sure she felt the weight of what she'd lost. I handed over the evidence to her boss, making it clear that I had no intention of letting this slide. The messages, the recordings, everything. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just angry, I was strategic, cold, calculated. She called me a few times, tears thick in her voice, begging for forgiveness, promising it was a mistake, that she'd fix everything. I listened in silence, my stomach twisting with a mixture of satisfaction and nausea. I knew she was trying to manipulate me, make me doubt my resolve, but I didn't let her. I had already made my decision. The final act took place in my driveway one rainy evening. I arrived with a bag in hand, filled with her keys, her phone, and all the things she'd left behind. I took a deep breath, staring at her trembling figure on the porch. Her face was pale, eyes swollen, but her expression was defiant, like she thought she could still somehow talk her way out of it. "You wanted to fix this," I said quietly, voice steady. "Well, here it is, it's over." I handed her the bag. "You're done with me, I'm done with you." Her lips quivered. "Please don't do this, I swear I'll fix everything." "No," I interrupted. "You had your chance. You chose your affair over us, over me. I'm not going to let you drag me through the mud anymore." I could see her eyes welling with tears again as I turned to walk away. But I stopped, looked back, and added, "And just so you know, I forwarded all the evidence to HR, to your boss, and I made sure. Everyone knows what you did. You can spin it however you want, but the truth's out now. You lost everything, Lisa." She stared at me, trembling, voice cracking. "You're cruel. You're just doing this because you're angry." "I'm doing this because I'm done," I said finally. "You lied to me for months, and I'll never forget that. But I'm the one who's walking away with my dignity intact, and you're left with nothing but the wreckage of your choices." I took a step back and watched her stand there, defeated, a ghost of the woman who once smiled so confidently. I felt nothing but cold resolve. Truth was, I'd never felt so alive, so in control, when I finally made that decisive turn away from her. As I drove off, I realized something essential. Revenge isn't about destruction for its own sake. It's about reclaiming your power, showing the person who betrayed you that they don't get to control your life anymore. It's about standing tall and saying, "You lost me," without apology, without regret. And that's exactly what I did. I left her standing there, staring after me, knowing she'd lost everything that mattered to her. In the end, I learned that no betrayal is worth sacrificing your dignity. The pain eventually fades, but the clarity, knowing you took back your life, stays with you forever. That's the real victory.